Dr. Bjorn Olsen is here with me now with AAA, a keynote speaker, doing some very critical and interesting research. I know that you really are focusing on anatomy, but really looking back at evolution and seeing how that information that you learn can help look ahead to the future in terms of making people healthier.
Right.
Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Many of the molecules that are critical for our development in the embryo, from the embryo, and for growth after birth, and for aging, are molecules that go far back in evolution, when cells found out that they could form clumps, or they could communicate with each other and form tissues and eventually organs. And one of these molecules that I will talk about in the talk today is a factor, so-called growth factor, that appeared quite early. And I will describe now in the talk how this factor is essential for embryonic development of bones, for survival of bone cells, and in addition to bone, cartilage, which is part of our skeletons. And the mechanisms by which this growth factor not only is made by cells, but how it interacts with other cells in the vicinity of cells that make it. And it does that in many different ways and in very unexpected ways. And one of these unexpected ways is that it is also, in addition to being made by a cell and acting on surrounding cells, it also acts on the cells that make it in very critical ways.
So incredibly complicated. The factor that you're talking about, vascular endothelial growth factor, you say has some positives, but also can ultimately have some negatives in the body.
Essential for survival in development and early ages after birth. But as we grow older, it has characteristics that make it stimulate certain disorders or diseases. So for example, in degenerative joint disease, osteoarthritis, which is quite common, and
especially with the aging population,
and it's increasing with the aging population, and because of obesity and weight, that also makes it increase. It turns out that the vascular endothelial growth factor, or VEGF, is now progressing the disorder, makes it worse. So that in joints of individuals with osteoarthritis, the levels of expression of VEGF, the levels of this growth factor increase, and that increase accelerates the progression of the disorder and the loss of articular cartilage in the joints. We believe, based on studies in mice, where we have intentionally induced trauma to the joints, we can, by giving antibodies against vascular endothelial growth factor injected into the joint, we can slow down the progression of all of osteoarthritis and even prevent osteoarthritis.
Well, that would be tremendous if it translated to humans, right? Your research really represents sort of a new way of looking at cell biology. Is that why you think it's so important for members of AAA to be here at conferences like this?
Absolutely. Because in the long run, anatomy is not only a descriptive science, but it has to be a science that studies how we are, what we are, what determines the shape of a bone, and what determines even how muscles attach to bones at specific sites, and not all over the place, right? Everything is the result of molecular mechanisms that control how cells work, how cells interact, how they form tissues, and how muscles and bone cells work together to form bones that can be moved by muscles. It is also a question of how cells become neurons and how they pack together in the brain. All that is part of understanding the structure we have and how it works. And that is part of anatomy.
That knowledge is such power and,
Right.
and has such a vast implication.
Yes.
Dr. Olsen, thank you so much.
Okay.